Back in the dim distant past, when we used to record and edit our movies on analogue equipment, if we wanted to record our voice or other sounds on a device separate from our camcorders, we usually ended up using something like this.
A small pocket tape recorder.
But that was then, and this is now, and today we can use a device called a linear handheld sound recorder. Basically, it performs the same functions as the humble dictaphone. It has built-in microphones and also a loudspeaker, a socket for headphones so we can monitor the sounds we are recording, and most importantly, there is a socket to allow us to use an external microphone of our choice. And all this in stereo too. If your camcorder doesn't have the necessary microphone input socket to allow you to use an external microphone, then the most obvious use for a handheld recorder such as this is to record sounds from an external microphone and to then use those sounds in your movie project. Which is exactly what I'm doing right now, because the commentary you are hearing is in fact being recorded onto this device at this very moment. Now that's magic. But there are other, less obvious uses for the handheld sound recorder. Let's nip outside.
Well, here I am again on my test strip, and I'm using a lavalier microphone plugged into the handheld sound recorder, which is in my rear pocket. But why am I using this particular setup when I could simply plug the microphone straight into the camcorder to record it? Well, this for one reason. Obstructions such as roads and rivers and glass mean that you can't always use a microphone cable between the camcorder and your external microphone. So we have to use another device to be able to record the sounds that we want. In days of old, we used to use a radio microphone for this, but today I'm using a handheld sound recorder, and I'll show you why. Well, here I am at around about the limit of the range of a good radio microphone, but obstructions such as trees, other buildings, and if you're indoors, the walls of a building can reduce this range by around about half. And you can get other interference such as power cables, mobile phones, so there's no guarantee that using a radio microphone will give you good reception all the time. But what if we want to go a little bit further? Well, here I am around about half a mile away from where the camcorder is, and of course the sound is being picked up perfectly by the handheld sound recorder, and it's in perfect synchronization on the camcorder. So hopefully that shows at least one of the advantages of using a handheld sound recorder. There's some other things that we can use the recorder for, but first I'm off for a coffee.
The new generation of sound recorders are small enough to slip into your pocket, so you can pretty much take them anywhere. In fact, you can sit down for a cup of coffee when you're out and about and send your friend or partner off with the sound recorder to capture some ambient background sounds for later use. You don't even need to have your camcorder with you, simply slip the sound recorder into your pocket whether you are visiting somewhere for the first or umpteenth time and capture the sounds of a city, parkland, seaside or open countryside. Of course, you don't have to restrict yourself to only using the sound recorder to record a replacement soundtrack for your movie project. You could use it to record an additional one. For example, your camcorder might be recording sounds at one end of a room, whilst the sound recorder records different sounds at the other end of the room using a second microphone. And don't forget, the sound recorder is stereo, so we could use a stereo microphone, or indeed two mono microphones, to record sounds from the same location. One to record dialogue at one end of a room, and a second microphone to record dialogue at the other end. And all the time the camcorder is recording its own soundtrack as well. So how exactly do we synchronise the sounds together? We still need to somehow align the sound recorder's audio in our movie project so that it plays back at the right time. Luckily, this is very easily and cheaply achieved using one of these, a dog training clicker. Clicking the device like this puts two very distinct and obvious peaks on the audio waveform when we look at it in our movie editing software. The cycling footage I shot earlier also contains the same audio peaks recorded by both the camcorder and the sound recorder. This is how we use the audio peaks to align the two audio clips in our movie editing software. I've already transferred the camcorder footage and the separate audio file from the sound recorder to the computer's hard drive. Now I need to import the camcorder footage onto the timeline in the normal way, which includes its soundtrack. I have spotted the two audio peaks from the clicker here, but there's very little else on the audio track because the camcorder was positioned inside a parked car. On a separate audio track on the timeline, I now import the lavalier microphone audio file recorded on the sound recorder and position it roughly where it needs to be. Once again, I can see the two audio peaks from the clicker here, along with much louder background sounds and of course my dialogue. I can now simply drag the sound recorder's audio file along the timeline until its two audio peaks align with the same two audio peaks of the camcorder's audio. Zooming in for a closer look on the timeline often allows the waveforms to be aligned more accurately. Once the sound recorder's audio has been aligned with the camcorder, I can simply choose which one I want to listen to by adjusting the volume of the audio clips. I can reduce any audio clip's volume to 0 by dragging its audio envelope down like this. OK, here is part of the video clip with only the original camcorder sound.
But why am I using this particular setup when I can simply plug the microphone straight into the camcorder?
And here it is again, but this time with only the sound from the lavalier microphone recorded on the sound recorder.
But why am I using this particular setup when I could simply plug the microphone straight into the camcorder to record it?
I could even blend both audio tracks together if I wanted to by lifting the volume envelopes of both audio clips. But in this example, I only require the sound of the lavalier microphone, so I shall leave the camcorder audio at 0. All that remains is to trim the beginning and end of the camcorder footage and the lavalier audio file so that the clip is the correct length for my movie project. Although synchronising two soundtracks together in this way might at first appear a little complicated, it's actually not too bad. If our camcorders can't accept an external microphone, or we find ourselves in the situation where we need a remote or additional microphone setup, then recording and synchronising sounds in this way can give fantastic results. And now, we're well on the way to turning our good soundtrack into a great soundtrack.